You're on the podcast.
With Dino and Ashley. Boom. There you go. That's it. That's what you get this time, okay? Listen, last time we were like, oh, you go through hard things. You should say good and it's awesome and great. Listen, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. At this point, I'm exhausted. There's no more good in this. I'm done.
That's
okay?
a lie.
No, I'm just playing.
That's a lie. Well, good morning. We're up very early. As you can see, it's still dark outside. And
Why is that, Ash?
we've been going hard. And we were like, well, we don't have a podcast for tomorrow. Oh, no, I guess today's
Yeah,
Wednesday.
you don't even know what day it is.
I don't.
Honestly, I don't know what day it is either. It's been too many days in a row.
Well, that makes me feel better because I thought we were going to hand this off to Zach.
I know.
Like,
He actually asked, he's like, please just not Thursday.
give him an extra day. So good morning, guys. We are here and we just felt like it was important. We obviously wouldn't want to skip one. And then there's just so much stuff that's gone on since the last one that we were like, we have to do a podcast. Every time we talk, we're like, oh man, we gotta share this on the podcast.
Yeah. And it's been nuts because when we first started recording these, we had like 7 or 8 banked where we pre-recorded them and then we could drop them and then we got caught up.
4 times like this, like, oh, if there is a reason, if we're sick or there's a hurricane or...
And then I feel like it's just been so much chaos.
Yeah.
That they got swallowed up from us.
But even if they weren't, I would say we would have skipped some anyways and done them this way because it needs to be said what's going on.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. This is better. This is better. You want it fresh.
Yes.
So this is coming to you. We recorded this on a Wednesday and you get it on a Friday. This is probably kind of like the sequel, Hurricane 2, the sequel.
Yeah. So last episode, we left you and we were prepping ourselves for whatever was to come with Hurricane Milton.
We left the last episode saying we finished a hurricane and we don't know what's about to come in the next few days. I remember that's like how I guess ended. Well, how did those next few days go?
Well, picking it up, we got hit again. I'm sure everyone's followed the news, but this area in particular has not been hit directly in over 100 years.
Yeah. And they've apparently never seen a west to east hurricane.
It's really rare
all the way
anyways, according to my weather knowledge, that it's very rare for it to develop in that area and then to go across the Gulf that way. So all in all, it was just a really random thing. But what happened is we saw this thing was coming our way. It was projected to hit between Tampa and, I don't know, somewhere like Naples, I think.
Yeah.
So we're right in between there. The island, Anna Maria Island, Longboat Key, Siesta Key, and Sarasota.
At one point you showed me the zoomed out and then zoomed in track of the hurricane, and it was over our house.
Yeah, over our house. So, and you know, it really matters. Landfall really, really matters with hurricanes because just a few miles can really change what happens to you and what happens to that area, and then what happens under the area and what happens above the area. So I'd say after all in all, we got really fortunate the way that it hit. It was supposed to hit above us in Tampa, which would have caused a lot more surge.
Because the bottom side pushes in and the top side pulls out.
Yeah, right? Which was crazy because we ended up staying for the hurricane. So let's just start at the beginning. We left the house and when
we recorded the podcast, we got 1, maybe 2 nights at home. Yeah. And then we got evacuated again.
Yes. So we got an Airbnb in town. We thought, okay, that'd be good. We're not by the water. Well, then we just kept hearing about the wind factor, that it's not going to be really a water thing for us. That it would be a wind thing. Well, they were saying wind and water, depending where it hit.
And leading up to that hurricane, we were supposed to get a whole bunch of rain. Because the islands are so saturated, just the rain alone, you're going to flood again. Yeah. So we're like, okay, now we for sure have to leave because if we get stuck on the island because everything's been flooded and we can't get off the island, then we're screwed.
Yeah.
So we bailed early.
So we got an Airbnb with our friends and their kids again. We ended up at the last minute removing everything from the Fox Mercantile, all of our inventory. We got a U-Haul.
And the expectation was at this point, our home, the inn, and the Mercantile basically are going to be gone because they were saying it's a Cat 5 and it's like the biggest one they've ever seen. It was reaching the maximum potential that the earth could create.
Yeah, and it was out in the Gulf. So there was a lot of hype around this one, but I don't think it was incorrect hype. It was what it was until it changed. So, and that's just the way that it goes. Yeah. So what they were saying was true. It just kind of hit differently than what they said.
So we have an Airbnb. We're in Bradenton.
Yeah, so we have an Airbnb in Bradenton, and then we're there, and this house, this was so nice, it was gifted to us by somebody. Our friends needed to bring their parents along too, and so it wasn't a big enough house. So we stayed there one night, packed up the next day, got a different Airbnb that was a bigger house. We've been in so many Airbnbs the last couple weeks. So we spend one night, and Susan and I, my friend that was staying with us, we were like, I do not feel safe in this house. It was like an old house that was 2-story, huge kind of compound, but just not feeling safe there at all. Like it was going to blow over.
We were hanging out after dinner, and me and Eric were playing pool, and one of the kids came in and they slammed the door, and Susan had her head against the wall, and the whole house kind of shook, and she's like, nope,
not doing that. Nope, not the hurricane house. So the next morning they were like, we're going to Miami, we're going to leave. And we decided that we would just go to my parents' house, which I'm really, really glad we did, because they would have just been alone there, and they were fine. I think it made everybody feel better just being close to them. So our friends went to Miami. We left that house and we stayed for the hurricane. That was not
loved it.
my favorite.
You love living through hurricanes, don't you?
No. So at first, when it first hit, like he was saying,
it literally went right through. So we went further south from Bradenton down into Sarasota, and the hurricane moved south. It literally went right over top of us.
Yeah. So watching the first leg of it come in was crazy. It was super windy, and they have a backyard with a cage over it and like a little covered area. So we kind of sat in the covered area and we're just watching the wind, and it's going one direction, like really strong. Wow, this is so crazy and windy, and you could see.
Because we were sitting, the wind could blow, and we were kind of in this safe spot.
So we could sit outside and watch it.
Yeah.
Man, this is insane. This is so wild, you know. Like, we could sit out here too.
Wow, look, hurricane.
And we saw like electrical boxes like blow up in the distance. It was just crazy to watch.
But no, you didn't feel overly in danger.
No, I was like, wow, that's it? That's crazy. Okay. Yeah. Well, then all of a sudden, everything just stopped after like 2 hours of it, maybe.
Silent.
Not a sound. Not a tree moving. It was so eerie and so weird. It's over. That's so okay. Like that was great. Like that was easy. Yeah. And my dad pulls up on his map and he's like, we're in the eye right now.
It literally showed our house
in the center,
dead center of it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was walking around outside. I'm like, this is the craziest feeling ever. It is dead silent because everybody's power is out.
Yeah.
And there's no wind, nothing.
So we sat there and just sat in the eye for a bit. We're like, well, maybe it won't be so bad afterwards. So we went inside, got into bed. Then it went down from there. And the winds were, I just re-listened to the video of it. It just was howling and hissing and whipping and like back and forth.
It felt like a house. I mean, luckily they have a block house. So we knew we were going to be safe. Like the probability of a hurricane taking down a full block house is not very likely. But you could hear the pressure inside the house increase because
feel it through the windows.
The wind would push air pressure into the house, and you would hear kind of like doors rattle, and the roof felt like it was basically trying to be ripped off. It was crazy.
So we didn't sleep that night. That was until probably about 2, I think it went. So it was like 10 or 9:30 or 10 until 2. Waking up the next morning, obviously we're tired, and we head over to the Mercantile because that's the only place we can get to. Our house and the inn are on the islands, and we can't. Those are blocked off. It was crazy driving on the road. Definitely not safe. No. And I know people were like, "Why are you driving?" But we had the Jeep, and Dino's a race car driver, so we just.
But it wasn't dangerous because the reason why it was dangerous is because people are so dumb.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody.
Yeah. Luckily, early in the morning, nobody was really out, but there were a few people out, and they don't know how to stop at, when there's no stoplight. Yeah. So people were just like zooming through it. So we just like took our time and drove really slowly, dodged all the trees down, and got over to the Mercantile. And it's so hard because there's 3 different properties, 2 different businesses, and a home. Okay, what will we do if this one's gone and this one's gone and this one's gone? Or what if this one's there? So we kind of went through all the different scenarios of what that would look like.
And we were talking about like, what does the future of all of this
Which
look
is
like?
awful to do anyways. Like, that's not the best thing to do when you're so tired.
No.
We had already been working for weeks recovering after Helene, and now we're in it again and we're trying to make a plan for the future.
Yeah.
Not recommended, because you can't make decisions in the midst of...
No.
That isn't that like a rule? Don't make a decision in the midst of a hurricane, because everyone just ends up moving away. But I'm not going to lie, it crossed my mind. I'm like, what are we doing here? Why are we still living?
That is a very common saying of don't make this. We should make shirts. Don't make decisions in the midst of a hurricane.
Yeah. Seriously. But those things did cross our mind. Like, is this the life that we want? How can we keep doing this? How can we have a property that floods all the time?
Yeah.
You know?
What do we do? What do we want to do if everything's gone?
Yeah.
If we can't live here anymore, what do we want to do?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was like, I would move. Like, I just can't, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And
in your most exhausted state.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So we get over to the Mercantile early in the morning, and we see our giant tree down on our property, the one that was there originally, and it fell towards the street and took a power line down. And then we go inside and realize that we flooded just a couple of inches, but I don't know if you know the difference. It doesn't really matter. If it floods 3 inches or 10 inches, it's the same thing. We had already emptied the space, so there was no inventory to ruin, but it's just enough to just kind of piss you off a little bit. And you have to replace the walls and dry the walls out. We had just paid thousands of dollars for a water remediation company, and it's like, great, let's do it again.
Yeah. I got to be honest, when we got there and the tree fell the other way, a good chunk of me internally was like, I really wish that tree would have just gone the other direction and destroyed everything, so I just don't have to think about this anymore.
Absolutely. And it's awful.
I'm just being honest here,
but
you know,
that's the reality of it, because you're just so tired and you're like
over it, so tired.
It is like, it would have just made everything just like a clear answer to like, well, it's a sign we can't reopen, you know?
We love it. It has been one of the most amazing ministries ever. We love the ability to be able to be a light in our community, have worship nights there, have women's Bible studies there, be able to utilize it for the church, being able to be there.
Yeah.
You and I like to be there. We like being there. So
I obviously love like curating everything and the design and the people. It's just like, it's life-giving.
It's given you and I like a touch point with community that we want to be able to invest in.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love sitting there in the mornings and drinking my coffee and working on my laptop and the baby. It's part of our life. It's part of our community. And especially now where our neighbors, where previously it hasn't been the best relationship, but now we have a bond with everyone, I've had high anticipation of what it could be.
Yeah.
Not from the financial perspective, just in terms of what impact that place could be from a community perspective.
Yeah.
And to come there and to be so dead and so tired, and then be just like, all right, we just finished cleaning this place up. We finished just getting it ready. All this time and effort and money invested into it again, and now we got flooded again. I'm like, I just wish this whole thing would have burned to the ground.
I know.
But again, just the awful things that go through my head.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the reality of how you're feeling at that point. And it's not just because of this one time. If you followed along at all, this is our 5th time flooding. Really?
Which apparently had never happened before.
Yeah.
5 times, though. Never happened.
So then you kind of start to think too, like, at what point am I just a crazy person just doing something that should be dead? So that's why we can't make those decisions in the midst of the chaos and the tired and overwhelming. And it's just like, Lord, you have to show us what you want, because I am weak and you're strong, and I am frail right now, and my mind is breaking. Yeah. And mentally, I cannot take another thing. And this is even before we saw the inn and before we saw our house. I can't take another thing. You have to show us what to do. And we will keep the Mercantile if you want us to keep the Mercantile. And if you want us to sell, we will sell. We have an open hand to all of it, and we don't care. And I can't say that that was the case even 6 months ago, when like financially we were trying to figure things out because of all the flooding. We get ahead and then we lose money, and then we get ahead and we lose money because we lose money flooding. And it just broke me because I'm like, I've poured so much into this. I can't even imagine it. And now it really is at the point where take it if you want to take it. And if you want us to stay, then we'll stay.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
My mom had like drawn it in her guest room on the wall. And I was like, oh, babe, look at that verse right there. Like,
and I was staring at it.
And then I opened my Bible to read, and that verse was on the page. And I was like...
And it just, the part that just really over and over was hitting home with me was lean not on your own understanding. It was a very hard thing for me to kind of sit there and chew on. And it still is, honestly. It's really hard right now to just be like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, God, what are you doing? I don't understand. And God's just telling me, lean not on your own understanding. You know, just trust in me.
Yeah.
Just continue doing the things that you know that I've told you to do, and lean not on your own understanding, and just deal with the day. And my goodness, I'm like getting emotional right now, but it's kind of crazy. Even through all this, I've never even I've not cried. I've not been sad. I've not had any like difficulties through things. I've just like continued, wake up and go. But man, I'm at a point now where I don't have any more understanding.
I know.
You know, and I want to always like be the one who's like the rock for the family and like the community and just continue to be a beast. But I'm at the point where I'm very much in need of, I don't understand. And I feel like God's not giving me any more. And that God's just telling me my grace is enough for you right now. And you get to keep going. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been hard. It's hard. But these are the things that if I go, I went back and listened to our podcast after it dropped.
From last week.
Because I needed it for myself. The things we kept saying last week are still true. Yeah. Always look for the good in the hard things. Continuously seek after God in the things that you're going through, you know? And I feel like that's just, we're in the midst of that, and it's brutally hard. Hard.
It is. And it's hard when you're in that fatigue too, because you're just so tired that it's like, we said that, I don't know if this is what you were going to say, but we said that like, it's hard right now reading, you know, even we're just reading my Bible, it feels like just words, like motivational words, but it's not like penetrating my heart right now. Like I feel tired and like I can't even process the motivation right now, or the encouragement, or whatever God's trying to say through his word. I just can't even, I read it and it's there, you know, and I hate that. But I'm being honest with him too. Like, Lord, I am weak without you. I can't do this. I can't even read your word right now and have it not on my own might. Lord, you have to come in and intervene here. I need your strength. So it's
just to touch on that though, like from my perspective, it's been really difficult because you said we were driving home and you said that you're like, hey, I've been really struggling with reading my Bible and being connected and stuff. And man, absolutely. It's a state of sin because I don't want to be that way. And I know that's not what I'm supposed to do. When I'm going through the hardest of things, I'm supposed to cling to God and go desperately seek after him. But I feel like I'm being honest, my heart posture has been one of, why are you doing this, God? These aren't things I'm saying, but it's the way I'm feeling, and it's then overflowing into my actions in terms of not reading my Bible and not like seeking after God with my whole heart with whatever's going on. I've just been kind of, I don't want to say bitter, but I don't understand, and because I don't understand what's going on, I'm just upset, and therefore I'm like, fine, I'm just going to keep cleaning and doing stuff, but I'm not going to go and draw close to you then. I'm not going to go seek after your word.
Yeah. So we got home, and from seeing the mercantile, couldn't see our house or the inn, and we just like sat on my parents' bed, still no power, and there's just destruction all around, you know, driving home. There's just like, it's just everywhere. And we realized we can't do anything right now. We can't do anything at the inn. We can't even get over there. We can't even get home. So let's just shut our brains off and rest. Let's just turn everything off and rest for a few days and just give our bodies a chance to like come down from it all and then come together so we can pray together, so we can reconnect with the Lord, give ourselves that allowance. Because after Helene, we were in a sprint mode and it was like, get things done, you saw like all the people that came out. It was incredible that came out to help us. Like we worked so hard and nonstop. And then after Milton was like, everyone is so tired. There's nobody around because everyone got affected by Milton because of the wind. So it took down their trees on their houses or fences.
Yeah, to have your life in order and a structure and then have it be destroyed. And then you come along and you're like trying to pick up the pieces and, pick the cards up that are everywhere and put them back in your hand and have it in a state where it's like, okay, I have my deck, the hand I've been dealt that's left kind of in my hand. And then to have somebody come along in the midst of that and just like shuffle the cards everywhere again. It's like, it's so brutal.
It is.
But
so we just decided to rest and and just gave it over. Like, there's nothing we can do right now. We need to rest. Like, we can't move forward.
And it's not going to be a sprint anymore.
Yeah. And our team needed to rest, like everyone. And then also so many people stayed for the hurricane and lived through that as well. And so just that in itself was, nobody slept. And so we just felt like that was the best thing. And then we said, we're going to come together on Monday and we're going to start and we'll just do one day at a time. Monday came and Dino had a plan. We got a call from a family friend over the weekend. He's a contractor and he just said, I'm going to fly out and I'm going to work with you, Dino, and the boys for 3 days. So you have 3 days of me and we're going to just bust out anything you need to bust out. So what a gift to have that, to have somebody just like sacrifice their time and energy to come and do that. And that's such a huge amount of money for us, like to be saving. So they made a plan to go focus on the inn because the mercantile was drying out. So Dino kind of had that plan for Monday that he was going to go do that with the boys. And then I was going to go just check on everything else, finally get home and then go to the mercantile and just kind of assess things over there and try to like start to get that in motion. The house was fine, just outside damage and stuff like that. The inn also, I didn't touch on that, but the inn was fine. No water damage inside, just wind. So all of our plants are dead.
Everything's dead. Everything
that got hit by the salt water of Helene was just hanging on by a thread. And then Milton just like shook it all and was like, nope, you're not staying. Yeah. Although the house didn't get ruined, it's like, okay, we have to pressure wash the house because every building has like, it was whipped around. Everything was whipped around everywhere. We got to pressure wash the outside. Our fence broke with Helene. That big tree is down in the backyard. I got to get a landscaper out here to replant the plants. And then the inn stuff, we got to drywall. There's a lot of things mentally to tick off on the list.
And then everybody had already taken all of the trash out of their homes and put it in the streets. And then you have 100+ mile an hour winds whipping that crap everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's just trash
everywhere. So for anybody, it was just a lot mentally just to kind of grasp and just to be like, where do you even start? It just feels so messy. But we just had a plan for Monday and we said we can do Monday. So I went to the mercantile and on my way there, I got a call from somebody, a friend on Instagram, and her best friend it had been on her heart, our family, over the last for a while. And she just wakes up in the middle of the night and prays for us. And she just offered her and her family to come out basically and just work in the area, on a mission. And I just felt like, oh, wow, that's so cool, Lord, that you would have somebody like that, offer to do something. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's great. But
you were fairly downtrodden at that point. Yeah?
I'm just there's so much, and I don't even know what to do with you right now, this person that's offering. It's so sweet, but it's almost, and I told her this, I was like, I'm not at a state to even make a decision for you to come because I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know what to say right now. But I was like, okay, that's maybe God's just trying to encourage me there, oh, there's help, I get to the mercantile and one of my employees is there, and just out of nowhere, she's like, I wrote you a letter and I didn't know when to tell you, but I just wanted to, read it to you. And she reads me this letter that she had written during, I think it was after Helene. It just was super encouraging about her time working at the mercantile and what it's meant to her. And, I'm crying. I just cried a lot that day. And
at this point, you and I are very much having conversations around like, what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? What is the Merc? What are we even doing through all of this?
Yeah.
Is this even?
Do we just open just to sell it? Do we even open it? Because to open it costs a lot of money. We have to rebuy all these things. So it's a lot. These are these big decisions. It's like, everybody wants a plan from us too. And of course I want to give all of our employees a plan, but it's really hard because it's like, I don't even know. I don't know.
From like a logistic and planning perspective, we're saying like, what are we doing with our lives and what's the importance of this? But I feel like at that moment, you and I were so downtrodden. We were also saying, is the mercantile even something that's impactful? And then that day you get a phone call from this girl that says, this is worth this. Mm-hmm. And then you get a letter that God's telling you, this is worth this.
Yeah.
This is impactful. What you're doing there is actually impactful.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then, so continue on working through the day. And I go sit outside with a couple of people, my team, and a lady walks up who I have met one other time. I met her a year ago. She doesn't follow me. She didn't know who I was, but she lives outside of the area. Well, actually, she had just moved here from Tennessee. She has friends that kind of live on the island, so she had driven past the mercantile a few times. And the last time she stopped and she just prayed over the mercantile. She actually sang over it when we were closed. She came back when I was there, and this was last December. She handed me a letter, and she was like, I just have to tell you that God has placed on my heart. I don't know who you are and what you're doing, but these are the things that he's shown me about you and what you're doing here. And it was like such an encouraging letter. It was just about, what what God had shown her was going to be the purpose of this place, that it was going to be filled with a lot of people, that there was going to be music. And she didn't know we were doing worship nights. We hadn't even done one, I don't think.
We had not announced it. We now had not talked about it with anybody. It was just something that you and I were talking about what we wanted to be doing with the mercantile.
Yeah. So it was this really encouraging letter, and she was just such a sweet lady. And I kept that letter because I sometimes read it just throughout the year, like when I feel like, what are we doing? And we flooded, and I read that and I'm like, this was from the Lord, what she was saying, and it's encouraging. So I read it and stuff, and I hadn't heard from her since. Well, she walked up and she was like, do you remember me? And I was like, yes, like, how are you? And she's like, I know you're going to think I'm crazy again, but I have some stuff for you. And I wrote you another letter. And I'm going to just cry already thinking about it. But she sat down, and the first thing is she's like, I know this is going to sound like I'm a nut, but I have some medicine for you. It's all natural, but she's like, I have my master's in whatever, nutrition and all that stuff. And she's like, God told me that you were having like adrenal issues, that you're like having heart palpitations. And I don't know if you are, but like he, put this on my heart, and I have these for you. During the whole hurricane the last few weeks, like my heart has been beating irregularly. And Dino was like, you have like an adrenal issue.
Yeah, I had a suspicion based on your symptoms that you were having adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, this girl who doesn't follow you, doesn't know anything about.
I haven't said anything
with inside information about aspects of your health.
Yeah. So she's like, here you go, take it or don't take it, but here is what I have. And she wasn't like selling it or anything. I am very skeptical of everybody, just so you know. I'm not also like I don't believe everything I say. And I've said this before, but the only thing that I do 100% feel confident in is what I read out of the Bible. Yeah. Everything else you should take with a grain of salt. But I really felt like what she was saying on this particular day was not by chance at all, and that God had purposely put her there. So she continues to go on just to relate to me with her life in parallel to what we're going through. She just kept speaking truth. She's like, I am sure that you were thinking about selling this place. She's like, don't. You can't sell this. I know God has something like crazy that he's doing here, and you can't get rid of this place. And if you do down the road, whatever, but like, you're supposed to be doing what you're doing right now, and do not stop going. And I'm just like, I started crying again, and I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want, like, why? And she just kept going, and she's like, and God gave me a song over you, and it's the song, and I don't know why he always gives me children's songs for you, but it's This Little Light of Mine. And she wrote down the words to it, and it just such a sweet song, and a couple of the verses, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And then all throughout the neighborhood, I'm going to let it shine. And then the last one is, don't let Satan blow it out. I'm going to let it shine. And she's like, I just feel like Satan is just constantly trying to blow out what God is trying to do here, but don't stop doing what he wants you to do. Like, you can't stop. And it just was such an encouragement. I just left and I just felt like it was such a day when I started so dark, and God just was like, I'm going to shine brighter than all of the darkness that you feel and the overwhelming. Like, I am going to show you that I am there with you. And like, through my people, I'm going to show you that I have not left you, and that I do have a purpose for you. I just felt so encouraged by that afterwards, just to not understand everything. I don't understand why and what we're doing, and I'm still tired and I'm still overwhelmed. But I at least felt like I left the day and I could keep going and know that we're doing the right thing and that we're being obedient.
Which leads us to right now, which is, we're just continuing to basically try and do one day at a time and be obedient with what's in front of us. I mean, God has continued to amazingly bless us with enough runway in front of us just to keep going a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. He's not showing us the full plan. He's not showing us 2 weeks from now or a month from now. It's like, today, this is who I am, and you need to just trust me. That's enough for me.
Yeah. The one that this morning I woke up over and over and over ways. My grace is enough for you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get more than that. And that's that's more than I could ever ask for. From a lifestyle perspective, there are certain people who very much seek after an emotional high, an emotional connection, a feeling that they get from God and their relationship with God and things like that. And they depend on that. And you and I have been really intentional about not doing that. Of course, there is an amazing aspect of your relationship with the Lord where you get to have that connection with him, but that's not the basis of our relationship.
Yeah.
The way we feel and the highs that we get are not the thing that define our relationship with Christ. Yeah. It's who he is and who we know that he is. That's our relationship with him. It's our faith in him. And it's his grace that is the thing that sustains us, the thing that fulfills us.
Those are the things that are unchanging. They're solid, and that's why he is the firm foundation. He's not changing, and everything around us can feel like it's blowing around us in the wind, like literally in a hurricane. Yeah. But he is, you're right. He is firm and he is there. That's where we have to keep our focus.
Yeah.
But he's so sweet that he also gives me opportunities to see him when I am feeling, he doesn't have to do that,
No, I know.
And when I am feeling like I can't keep going and I don't know why we're doing this. But he shows me these things or he shows you things, or just by sending people, like having Greg here to work on the property, like to help us get ahead.
Yeah. Just that message of like, you're not alone, because you and I have just been feeling like we're so alone in this. Mm-hmm. Like, where are you, God, through all of this? I don't feel you. Mm-hmm. And God's just like, you're not alone. I have you.
Which is so funny how quickly we forget from a week ago when we were like, God, just so with us, but that's like human nature. That's sin, and that's human nature too. Just to like, he does something and then a second later we're like, wait, what? Where are you? You know? Yeah. Things go bad and we immediately turn on him.
Yeah. And I said that too last week. I even said, I am so much like the Israelites. They see the amazing works of God, and then right after it, they go then and fall into some stupid sin because they don't rely and don't trust back in God. And that is me. That's who I am at my core. I'm just a stupid, awful sinner who quickly forgets the amazing things that he's done in my life, the ones that he did yesterday, like minutes ago. I'm so quick to forget because of the new fresh pain, the new thing that's in front of me. But God is so good to just remind us, you're not alone. I am with you. Continue going through what you got in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And I think what really has helped me too is I think what happened over the summer with the dreams that I had, and seeing like God giving me a visual of who the enemy is, does help me to just see that is who I should not direct anything at the Lord. Like, of course, Satan's going to try to be blowing us out right now and trying to constantly come under our feet and sweep under our feet. But God, every single time, shows up in a way afterwards. Keep going, keep going. I can't even dream up the things or imagine the things that he has shown up and done after these awful, awful situations. And so I just want to encourage you, you know, I said this the other day on my stories, and it's funny, we have this other saying at the shop, don't give up the ship. It's an old Navy saying, like, basically don't abandon your ship. I put that up there and I was like, you know, I love that for even this moment. Like, don't give up the ship. And that's not necessarily our building, but don't give up on the path that God has laid out for you that you know you're supposed to be on. And don't give up on that obedience to him. He has not left us. He is alive and active in our lives. We just need to keep seeking after him. Yeah, so we're going to just keep moving forward one step at a time, rebuilding, and then keeping our eyes focused on him, seeking after him and what he wants for us to do. And if it is to rebuild everything to perfection and all of our finances are drained into everything, and then he says, now sell it, then we will.
Yeah.
And if it is to keep going, whatever reason he has, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's just the heart posture that we need to keep focus on.
Yeah. I desire obedience. That's all.
And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, our obedience to God does not have to make sense. And most time it is not. Let me tell you, we have done a lot of things over the years that have looked very weird to people. We've lost friendships. It's been isolating at times, but it's also been so life-giving just to be in obedience to him and see him do a mighty works. And then we have those moments of isolation, and then he's shown us like an abundance of community afterwards. Like, there is fruit in all of that labor.
Yeah. It feels very much like a refinement. You and I get stretched and pulled, and then we get a time then shortly thereafter of being able to reflect on things and be able to then grow from that. But God, in hindsight, looking back on all the things, he's just building our capacity, you know, like even this week of every single day, up early, work till dark at night, like physically building capacity and things, and mentally building extra capacity. It just builds more for the next thing. Yeah, there's so much to be gained. I have to remember that, but it does not feel good when you're constantly being stretched and stretched and stretched. All I want to do is, even with this podcast in general, is be able to just be a reflection of God's word.
Yeah.
You know? So I sincerely hope that that's what we're doing. Yeah.
We promise that all of our podcasts won't be such doom and gloom, but they're the reality. And I think that, I know that everybody has their own challenges they're going through in their lives. Nobody's life is perfect and filled with rainbows and sunshine. And while we want to hear, all the fun things, and we will do those, we will get back into those. Yeah. These are also like the fun things. These are the good things, like you were saying last week, because these are the things that change us, that grow us, that refine us, like you were saying. Yeah.
And it's been continuously good with the kids too. Like, the boys have worked with me from 6 a.m. till yesterday. We worked till 8 o'clock at night. This is what it means to work hard, boys.
And they've been so happy.
And they love it. They even said to me, they're like, Dad, I love it when you give me a really hard task and I just can work. And then we get done the end of the day, and they even say, I loved how I'm working all day today. It's just something in a young boy like that. They hunger for it.
I know.
And I know that
the bonding thing for you guys too, like for all of us working together these last few weeks, we were saying last night, like, I feel like our family is closer too, just because we've gone through war together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you even said it yesterday. The boys and the girls, they go through different phases where they pull and push on either one of us. The boys have been in that phase right now where they're a little less mama. They're in that teenage years. And this has been very good to watch them see you differently because you're right next to them power washing and doing all this hard work and stuff, and they get to watch you do it. Mm-hmm. I've seen the bond with them. They respect you more.
I know.
Just by the nature of watching you go through all this hard stuff and how you react and how you work and things like that.
It's been good. Count it all joy.
Count it all joy.
All right.
I'm
Well,
sick of counting the joy. All right. I'm sick. I don't want to count any more joy. I'm done counting. Maxed out on numbers. I'm good.
uh,
All right. I think that's good for the day.
yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Hopefully no more hurricanes.
Hopefully no more. No more anything. I just need a nap.
I know.
You know?
I know.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.